In this video, I'm going to be going over 25 things I learned about model trains. These are all little things I've learned over time in my past 2+ years owning model trains. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Number 1. Just because the train is on a separate track doesn't mean it's safe. I remember in the beginning when I was running trains, I had a car on the siding and I wanted the locomotive to go past it, but instead it struck the side of the car, and that's because I didn't account for the loading gauge on the sides. You have to have a minimum safety distance after the switch, or else you're gonna have a train collision like Kismet. Number 2. I didn't realize just how easily trains derail. I thought it would be a rare type of thing, but it actually happens quite frequently. There's a lot of factors that can lead up to a train derailing. The coupler might hang too low, and oftentimes they have this metal trip pin, and that can snag onto a switch or something on the track. Or maybe the weight of the car is too light, so it kind of jumps the track. Or you're going too fast. Just like in real life, train accidents happen almost every day in the US, so even in a model railroad, you're gonna have derailments. Number 3. There's so much terminology and parts that I didn't even know what it was, and I'm still learning to this day. For example, a lot of people say prototype.
Prototype.
Prototype is referring to the real-life railroad. So if something's prototypical, that just means it's accurate to real life. And here are some terms that I've learned. Tack board, air dryer filter, PTC antenna array, GPS dome, speed recorder, sanding line, stirrup step, fuel gauge, water sight glass, wind deflector mirror, MU cable receptacle, control stand, marker lights, cellular network antennas, sunshades, medical aid kit signs. I do want to make a video just talking about train anatomy, but that is for another time. Number 4. They don't show pictures of the actual product. Usually there'll be this 2D drawing, well, you can see all the details, but it's usually only on one side. Or sometimes they don't even have a picture of the product, they just put a picture of the real life train, so you're kind of like, I have no idea what the final product's gonna be like. So sometimes you just have to pre-order because by the time it arrives, it's gonna be sold out. Number 5. You don't need a Rerailer to put stuff on the track. A few people have commented asking me, why don't you just put it on the track? You don't need this Rerailer. But yeah, it is true, over time you will get skilled enough just to place the locomotive on the track, no problem. But a Rerailer is still good if you want to put in some rolling stock fast. Number 6. You sometimes have to clean the track because random gunk will go on the top of it. You might not really notice it, but if your train is jittering or it's not running properly, you may have to have a closer look at the track and you might find some gunk, which could be rust from oxidation. Moisture in the air can affect the tracks, so make sure they're kept in a dry environment. Number 7. Be very careful what you buy. Pay attention to all the little details because there honestly is a lot of variations, and they may look the same, but if you look closely, they're different. For example, when I bought my Union Pacific SD70M, I thought it was just your plain generic SD70M, but it's actually different. It was an ex-Southern Pacific version of it, so the UP Wings logo was lowered down, and it didn't have those vertical grab irons, so it's a pretty unique variation from your regular one. Number 8. There are so many models not produced, even if they're mainstream in real life. For example, for the longest time, I would see this center beam flat car in so many videos, the NSC one. In HO scale, there's basically only 3 types of center beam flat cars you can get. The Walthers one, where the wall is wide. The Atlas one, where there is no wall, or the one with the opera windows. It was only recently that Rapido came out with the short walls, which I'm glad they decided to make because that is really common. It is the first time they're making this car, where sometimes there will be large gaps between production. For example, the MP36 or the MP40 passenger locomotive. It's a really common locomotive in North America. Metro has it, Caltrain has it, Mark has it, MBTA, Metrolink, New Mexico Rail Runner, Go Transit, Virginia Railway Express. True Line Trains did make a model of it, but it's been years since they produced it, and they're selling on eBay for $400, $500, $600. Luckily, Atlas bought the tooling, and they're gonna come up with some more of these locomotives, but you're gonna have to wait a while. Number 9. Among manufacturers, there are many types of couplers per brand. Athearn uses McHenry plastic couplers, Kato uses plastic couplers, Scale Trains has their own brand of plastic and metal couplers, Bachmann uses plastic Easy Make couplers, Walther uses metal Proto Max couplers, and if they don't have their own brand of couplers, they often use Kato couplers. A lot of people do recommend them because they're made of metal, they're really reliable and durable. So if you're looking for a coupler, it's definitely going to be a Kato. Oftentimes people convert all their rolling stock to the same type of coupler because if you run trains long enough, you'll find out some couplers don't work well together. So it is a good idea to have your whole fleet standardized. Number 10. Every locomotive I have has an F on it. Whether it be freight locomotives or passenger locomotives, all North American trains will have this F, and that just stands for front. Because back in the day, they had some locomotives and they were kind of confused which part is the front exactly. Nowadays, it's a lot more apparent, but it's just there just in case. Number 11. You may have noticed if you watch my unboxing videos that sometimes online model train companies, sometimes they give you candy. Although I don't eat them personally because sugar is bad for my teeth and gums. Number 12. You can't just put a curved rail right after another curved rail going the opposite way. I mean, you can, but it will derail a longer locomotive if you have like two long locomotives next to each other. The solution to this is just having a straight piece of track in between these two curves, or not putting two long cars next to each other. Number 13. It's actually really hard to multi-track drift. There is a meme on the internet of trains just going multi-track drifting. They just pass a switch, and when the bogies go on one track and the other bogie goes on the other track, and the train's on two tracks at the same time. And I thought it would be really fun to see, but usually the train will just derail. There's often not enough room for the bogie to turn all the way like that. Number 14. Model trains aren't perfect. It's actually really common to see mistakes and defect in your product, especially the more detailed the locomotive is, the more room for error. You have to keep in mind that these are handmade by people, not just machines. Here's a list of things that can go wrong. For the longest time, my CSX ditch lights weren't working correctly. It actually took 2 videos just to fix it. Sometimes pieces might not be glued on straight and correctly. The windshield might be bulging out of its socket. There may be some color bleeding issues where they don't put enough paint, or scratches. You may have missing pieces like grab irons and you have to ask for a replacement. Or the motor might have a burning smell and you have to send it back. And sometimes even the manufacturer makes mistakes on their model. For example, on the Athearn BNSF SD70 Ace, they made the roof beige instead of white in real life, which I don't know why they did that. And they're also missing the 3 pipes that go in between. Another thing that can go wrong are metal pieces that can come unglued from plastic pieces. So definitely a lot of things can go wrong. Number 15. Dust. Yep, dust. If you're having locomotives or rolling stock sitting on a shelf, not in a box, it's going to accumulate dust, and that's one thing you gotta be aware of. So from time to time, you just have to brush it off, and it's probably common with a lot of display items. Number 16. Sometimes there's cool little features like removable pieces. On some Athearn locomotives, you can actually access the cab. You can take it off and it's being held by magnets, so you can access the interior where you can put in figurines if you wanted to. Another feature is on the Bachmann SL Express, where you can detach the nose, and there is a slot where you can add in the coupler. Now, if I just bought this and I didn't watch any videos or look online about it, I would never have known that these pieces were removable. Number 17. You should glue the trailer hitches on the Athearn spine cars. When I got the Athearn spine cars, the trailer hitches came in pieces. I don't really want to assemble kits or glue pieces, but turns out it is necessary to do that. When I originally filmed the video, I didn't put any glue on it and it would keep falling apart. But in hindsight, I know it's actually pretty easy to glue stuff together, so just do that. Number 18. Model trains may cause cancer in the state of California. In California, Proposition 65 requires businesses to provide warnings about exposure to chemicals that could cause cancer or birth defects. You will find this warning on a lot of model train products. I think though, as long as you're not licking the model train and you wash your hands after you touch them, you should be good. Number 19. The trip pin system. The trip pin is this metal curved piece, part of the coupler, and it's basically designed to magnetically uncouple another rolling stock with a magnet on the track. They also resemble train line hoses, although that's not their main feature. Number 20. Nobody sells at MSRP. Usually the manufacturer lists a price at MSRP, that's the manufacturer's suggested retail price. But if you look anywhere, it's almost always discounted. If you look at Athearn's PDF announcement, they usually list this MSRP, and then you have to calculate in your head the actual retail price is going to be lower. It could be anywhere from $5 to almost $200 less than MSRP. Usually you're not going to buy stuff at MSRP unless it's become really uncommon and hard to get. Or if you buy directly from the manufacturer, it will cost more, so definitely just buy at a retailer, with the exception of Scale Trains who sells under MSRP. Number 21. Sometimes there isn't a video on the actual product, and that's sort of why I like to do these videos, to show people what it's like to unbox a model model train. For example, when I got the Kato super elevated track, or when I got the Kato 90-degree crossing, there was almost no videos of it in HO scale. Sometimes there are videos, but they won't show you the full packaging and what you're getting outside the box. They just show you already done. Number 22. Sometimes it comes with some spare parts. Usually it's to add in extra details. For example, on the Rapido Horizon car, it came with this line. I'm not sure where exactly to put it. My recent video with the Scale Trains wheel cars, they also had some pieces that are optional. For the Atlas New Jersey Transit LP45, it did come with some grab irons. In many Scale Trains products, they use rotating bearing caps, so they often include a baggie with some extras, although in my case, I've never seen them fall off. For these parts, they don't baby you at all. They sort of expect you to be an expert on it already, so you just gotta figure it out for yourself. Number 23. You don't need to glue the Kato Amtrak Viewliner baggage car grab irons. Don't risk the chance of glue ruining your model because it's totally fine with just a friction fit. Number 24. Non-rotating bearing caps often roll better than rotating bearing caps on rolling stock. It is a pretty cool feature to show the axles of the train are moving, but it may affect the rollability, although in my recent case, my Scale Trains wheel cars, they have rotating bearing caps and they roll pretty well. Number 25. There's still a lot of room for innovation. Model train companies are still coming up with new ways to improve models to make them more realistic. For example, Aurora Miniatures, they recently put some underside detail on their truck to show the traction motors. Usually model train companies do not include that feature, so that might be a thing. Another thing that Aurora Miniatures is doing is rotating radiator fans. I find that's a pretty cool feature. And it just goes to show you it's not the end of model railroading. There's still a lot of improvements you can do. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my 25 things that I didn't know about model trains before. I'm sure if you're into model trains, you probably know everything on this list. To those who don't, I hope you guys find this video helpful. If you guys enjoy it, hit the like button down below, leave a comment what you guys think. What is something that surprised you about model trains that you didn't know before? But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.